everyone. It's finally here, the first episode of the Hey Girl Talk Show, a platform where we're going to be talking about all the topics, all the subjects that women have been really uncomfortable to talk about, everything raw as it is. My name is Faith Panashe, and I'm here with three beautiful ladies who are going to be tackling all those topics that you're really afraid to talk about. So I'm going to leave this platform for them to introduce yourselves.
Hi guys, I'm Florida Mapeto.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Karombo.
Hello everyone, I'm Tatienda Wachenuka.
And today we're going to be talking about, I don't know if I can call it a sensitive topic, but it's a subject most girls are really not comfortable talking about. And I think it's because people really do not understand what it is, yeast infection. So maybe to begin with, before I get into my dramatic story about my first yeast infection experience, I'm going to ask you guys maybe, do you know what a yeast infection is?
Well, I do know what a yeast infection is because I also had a yeast infection experience.
Okay, and Karen?
I once had one, but unfortunately I never knew what it was back then. Well, you know what people do? They actually think if you've got an itchiness down there, it's always a sickness. You've got an STI kind of thing. So that's exactly, I really can't say I knew. I now later knew that it was yeast infection.
Yeast infection.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to find out from your story if I've ever had a yeast infection or not. Because the thing is, it's something that I've started talking about now. That, okay, it's a normal thing. It's a conversation that we can have, but I really don't know. So maybe the dramatic story, then you ask me again.
No, I think it all goes back to at home, growing up. I think our parents really do not talk about these things. They rush to talk about STIs, falling pregnant. So now when you get the yeast infection, you get confused. And this is where my experience comes in. So I was 18, if I remember well, and it all started with the itchiness down there. That's how a yeast infection begins. The itchiness down there, and I didn't know what was going on. I was really confused, I was scared, but I ignored it. And I ignored it because I really didn't want to know what it was because of that fear. So it went on for like 2 weeks. I could not sleep. It stings too, like up there. And you can't sleep because of the itchiness.
I'm not disgusted. I'm wondering, okay, so this one says she was scared. Were you already sexually active by then? Because if something happens to you, something like that down there, and you are not having sex, you are not probably going to be scared about talking about it. That's the honest.
I really do not think it's about being sexually active, but because this area is a sensitive area, it's not something that you can just talk about, that there's something going on in my vagina.
And I think it's a taboo area as well because, you know, when you're at home, it's either, if you're itching down there, it's like, how can you see? So you think probably I'm not buffing properly, so let me not so buff. So then it goes away, and then it doesn't.
And you see now with the bathing, before I get to actually making it worse when you do not know what to do, when you have a yeast infection, the skin is actually really tender.
Exactly.
So you're not supposed to scratch.
Exactly.
And you know what I did? I used to scratch a lot. And the skin was so tender, so it would tear. So it used to hurt so bad. So you know what I did? You see now. So what I did was went on the internet, Google the signs and symptoms, and yeast infection was at the top. And at the time, I was using my mother's medical aid. I really could have gone on my own to see the doctor, but because I was so scared, I actually didn't know. I missed school on the day because it was really painful. And this was like 2 weeks now into the infection. So there were tears down there. It used to sting a lot. It was itchy. It was uncomfortable. I didn't know who to tell. But that morning, I decided to tell my mom. And she had not gone to work as well. So, Mama, naenda kwa doctor.
The confidence.
Because maybe she had Googled it and no, there's nothing wrong with me.
Naenda kwa doctor. She said, so at home they call me Fatty. I was a fat baby growing up. Says Fatty, Chi, thrush.
Okay.
Okay, is that another name for yeast infection? Or it's two different things?
I wouldn't know, but I think, you know, they're all in the same family because there's yeast infection, there's bacterial vaginosis, and then there's thrush. And they all happen in that area.
that
so
area,
the signs and symptoms are almost the same.
similar.
Same, yeah.
Okay.
So, Mama, thrush. You know, she was in bed, covering herself. Wakamuka when she's like, what was going on? Thrush. You see? And you know what? I panicked. I froze. I'm like, she's like, Fanafeti. What was going on? Thrush. I was so scared, but I knew it was the thrush. So she then let me go to the doctor alone, and I went there. And you know, all those questions the doctor will ask you. Are you sexually active?
That's the first question.
Are you sure?
That's the first
Are
question.
you sure it's a yeast infection and stuff like that? So I went to the doctor. He checked me and everything and confirmed it was a yeast infection. Thank you, Lord. It was a yeast infection. So now, because it was 2 weeks into the infection, I was late. So sometimes they give you a cream when it's still the early stages. I didn't get the cream. I got pills. I got pills I had to pop up into my vagina. Wow. So now the thing is, with the pills, the instruction was to put it up.
With an applicator.
Yes, but when going to bed. I didn't know the reason. You know, I just thought, maybe it's just, you know, doctor's instructions. But the reason was because my vaginal skin was already tearing up. When you put the pill up, it's going to melt and stuff, and it'll come down. So the liquid, the discharge and everything in contact with the tears. Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So that night, I popped the pill up and I cried, guys. I literally cried. It was itchy. It was worse than the itchiness I experienced within the 2 weeks. I called my mom into my room and I was crying. She was panicking as well. And I'm thinking, I don't know, but it's so. But anyway, thank you to Google. I went back to Googled the pill, and the instruction was you take it when you're lying down. When you're done, you sleep. You don't move. You don't wake up. And that's it. And it took about 2-3 days, and it was gone. So then after that, that's when I maybe then learned about other things you can do at home. So you seem to have an idea of yeast infection. What home remedies have you heard people talk about?
I've heard of natural yogurt. There are many ways of using natural yogurt. One is you take my gloves there, and then in the compartment, you fill in your yogurt, and then you make it freeze. So when it's frozen now, you pop it up. But I'm not sure about that because, you know, it's ice and it's cold and yeah. So the other method is kutora, the natural yogurt, where you store up a panty liner and then you weigh wakunorara. Because it helps to relieve the itching. Because remember, you're also itching outside. And I think it's almost similar to the cream, because you're also advised to, if you're itching, you can actually apply the cream outside. Yeah, so it's almost the same thing. And then there's the garlic one. You take your garlic, where you menya, so that the inside don't your and then you tie it in a rope so that when you pop it up, you don't lose it. It's going to get tampon. So you sleep overnight and then you take it out the following morning.
But guys, we are always being advised not to put stuff down there, because the yogurt remedy, I've heard people talking about it. I actually know where you buy that syringe thing, and then obviously you take out the syringe and you pump it inside, and then right up there.
But it comes right out.
I don't think it's about the price. For me, it's not really about the price. It's about, is that even like healthy? Because we're even told that even in a bathing with water, you're just supposed to outside, not inside. So what happens now if people have all those garlic, guys?
No, but have you maybe heard people who've used this and it worked?
Besides Google, Uncle Google, I've only come across maybe roughly 5 women who've used the garlic method, but not specifically for yeast infection.
For what?
Well, I have used garlic before.
Oh, okay.
For yeast
Yeah,
infection.
no, it wasn't for yeast infection.
It was
no.
for what?
I
I want to know.
okay. The reason why I was using garlic was those rumors. We girls we talk. You know what? If you put garlic down there, it cleans the vagina, guys.
Oh my word.
Well, it just visaka smell. Like vagina has this certain smell that
Okay.
it produces
The
out.
fish smell.
Not really the fish smell, but then just got this natural smell. I can't even call it.
But
Okay.
It's what it does. It's like onion, guys. You know what happens when you put something onion? It consumes all the smell that's there. It's exactly how it works with garlic. It just consumes all the smell overnight, and then boom, you get. I've used it before.
And your vagina is odorless.
Okay, I can't really say it's odorless. Because even if you use it today, after 2 days, just like we use what do you call it? Apple cider.
Disclaimer, do not try this.
Of course, people react to things differently.
Exactly, yeah. That's
Because
the
if
other
it
thing.
works for me, it doesn't mean it will work for Flo as well.
Yeah.
It can be different. She can actually develop some thrash after using
Okay,
the
but
garlic.
you know what? Maybe you should tell us your experience with the yeast infection.
Well, I really didn't know it was yeast infection. So I went and told my aunt, you know what? These tiny things. And she's like,
What
don't
tiny
worry.
things?
Like, there were these, like, tumapundu, not really mapundu per se. This little thing is like, if you scratch these things that come out. Yes. So she was, fortunately now she's a physiotherapist and she knows the clinical side of some of these issues. So she tells me, no, don't worry. She once had it the first time she was pregnant with the first baby. She had yeast infection. She tells me, don't worry. You're fine. Every woman has it. 95%, rather 98% of women have experienced yeast infection. So it's like, don't worry, it's normal. Go to the clinic, I get that tube, I insert insert the cream and what, and then it's done. 2 days, I was okay.
You're okay. Okay. You wanted to say something?
She has a story. Like, you want
So you
to.
know what happened? I was in college. So I was certain things a taboo to talk about. So my roommate had a yeast infection. I had a yeast infection.
At the
and
same time?
Yes, and we are suffering.
What
in
is
our-
it? Contagious?
No, it's not. I don't know what happened, but we're suffering in our own little worlds, and we're not talking about this. We're just suffering silently and acting like everything is fine. And one of these days, I'm like, Rumi,
And you're scared. You can't tell her because you think, what's wrong with this girl?
Rumi, me too.
Oh my gosh.
I hope I'm not kufurirana.
No, at least in college we had medical aid. So we're like, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to go clinic. And then we're like, Saka, you were going to for how long? She's like, but I didn't know how to talk
But
to
how
my
long
mom.
was this?
I think I had kept it for like 3 weeks. And I remember I got to a point where I was now scratching the towel because my hands were not working anymore. So I would have to find my comfortable place, take my towel and scratch.
Wait, but what would you do in public? You at school?
In public, you suffer, Shay, or you go to the bathroom and then you
And just
And
uncomfortable.
the dancing in the chair.
Now, if I see people dancing,
No, but sometimes some people are writing my signs and symptoms scratcher. For some people, they smell really bad. Because when they pass, you're like, Lord,
You know
Lord.
what? Probably some people do actually have this and do not know.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
they just think maybe in Trukungo, Noah, but and then they use the garlic remedy, and that's why now where it goes away, it comes back, it goes away, comes back. So people should just get checked when something is wrong down there. At least go to a local clinic, go get checked.
but our local clinics actually, because you go to the local clinic and the person there is also thinking, maybe you're meeting me for the very first time, I've never heard of these things, and I'm like, Amashuraya Dekupi. Because that's what, like, because of the different stories, like each has had some sort of tumapundu. Yours was just something else. Hers, maybe your stories were similar. Mine, I don't, maybe I'm still to have it, or I had it and I didn't even know. Because we do have the majority of people actually don't know. So we have to also speak to that demographic as well, guys. So, yeah. Oh, my
but
goodness.
this does happen to a lot of women. I'm not sure if you guys read Gabrielle Union's We're Going to Need More Wine, the book. Yeah, she's got a whole chapter where she describes her first yeast infection experience, and she used the natural yogurt, and it cleared like overnight. But anyway, since we still need to be sure about this, we cannot really advise people to use it, but also maybe to just put it out there. Yeast infection is not an STI.
Yeah, it's not. Definitely not.
I don't know, maybe if you guys have heard something along those lines where people think it's an STI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
I think that's why people don't talk about
Yeah.
it.
The first perceptions are always what's happening, because anything linked to the vagina and it's not normal, we assume that it's an STI. So that's the first point of call for everyone. So now at least we know these things are normal. Even some vaginal discharge is normal. Yeast infection is normal. Blah, 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 blah. Normal.
Yeah, but I think it's also important to take note of, or maybe tell people that, sometimes even we want to take matters into our own hands and do things at home, but seeking professional help is important, because, who knows, it could be a whole lot of other things up there that have signs and symptoms that are similar to a yeast infection, and you're putting yogurt down there, or garlic, or ginger, or apple cider, whatever it is that you have heard, and it actually gets worse. So, you wanted to say something? You didn't?
I'm fine now. I'll come with my story when I remember.
Okay.
All right, guys, it's a wrap. I know it was exciting, it was fun, and our first episode where we're talking about yeast infections. So, to continue the conversations, you can follow us on our social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, and on YouTube. The handle is Hey Girl. So from me, Faith Panache Jorufura, let's get talking.